Hey y'all, welcome. I'm Mikey. Thank you for joining me. And this is Tell Your Friends. You're tuned in live to Glacier FM. Come on in, take a seat, get comfortable, and take off your shoes. We're going to chill for a little bit. So here we are, moving right along with our interviews. And I'm going to let my next guest introduce himself. So go ahead.
How you guys doing? I'm Mac, owner of TL Mac Fitness. From Brooklyn, New York. I'm 45 years old, and that's my story.
Okay. And
I
what
mean, there's
about
more
your
to it,
relationship
but
status?
huh?
Your relationship status.
I'm married.
Okay, so this one's married too, ladies. So I'm just saying, because we had some single ones on here. So I'm like, go on and drop your information so they can find you. But y'all can't find this one. The queen has already found him.
Yes, she
Um,
has.
okay, so did you grow up single parent, both, neither?
Well, I grew up. I actually have a twin brother. My mother raised both of us.
Oh, nice. So your mother raised you guys by herself?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any male role models around or?
My uncle was around. My mother's sister's husband. He actually was the one that got me into sports and got me into being the athlete that I am today.
That's good. Probably kept you out the streets, huh? No. Look, he's like, I don't know. I still kind of tapped up in there too.
Nah,
Okay.
you know what it was? He inserted his influence,
Uh-huh.
I guess, when he needed to, but then for the most part, it was just like, you're gonna be a boy, so you're gonna have to learn things. Just like my mother at one point, she was just like, you're gonna have to learn things the hard way. So
Mm, okay. So a
I
little
learned
tough
things
love.
the hard way.
A little tough love.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you feel about the new modern woman, bad bitch chasing the bag? Like, how do you feel about this new mentality?
Um, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's a new mentality. I think it's something
Well,
that's been
it's
going on
it's
for many,
become a
many
big
years.
thing. It's a
Yeah,
big
now because I say due to social media,
right.
now it's more out there. Now more people are like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm chasing the bag. But like I grew up with a single mother. My mother, she had my grandmother. Everybody was out there chasing back. My mother, she was a school teacher. During the day she tutored. She did everything possible to get to the bag. But there was no social media for her to be like, oh, I'm independent. I can do this. I don't need no man. That. But now that there's social media, you hear that across the board. Like, I'm a bad bitch, yo. I don't need no man. I'm going to get the bag, yo. If you grew up with a single mother, they thought the same thing. They was doing the same thing you was doing, just without a platform.
Okay, so you don't have a problem with it.
I don't know. I don't care about that. I
All
mean,
right,
at the end of the day, when we all gonna need each other no matter what. A female could be like, okay, I'm chasing a bag, but you can be chasing a bag, but you can't open that jar of pickles.
And they
So,
all don't know how to change a tire like myself.
or I'll put that oil in the car.
Like that.
So I
um,
mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna need somebody across the board. I mean, females will sit back and be like, "Yo, is this a PG? What is this? It's a rated R. Can we speak freely?"
this is speaking freely. I want you to speak your mind. I want honesty.
Okay, so I mean, female, whether you're gay or straight, you can't nut off by yourself. I mean, you might be able to get that toy, but at the end of the day, it's not the same as having a warm body next to you.
That's true.
So I mean,
I
at,
agree.
at the end of the day, whether you chasing the bag or not, you still gonna come back to somebody.
You would like to.
You would like. I mean, everybody can.
Maybe you don't want to. I don't know. Like for me, I just feel like I'm cool with the modern woman thing because I feel like in this day and age, unless you like have a business and you're very well off, it takes two people to kind of keep things afloat. So I'm cool with that part and not being everything being so traditional. But this bad B and like don't mess with him unless he got a Birkin for you, like that mentality, I have a problem with that because I have three daughters and I don't like that message that is sending to our young ladies.
And I would agree with that. I have four daughters, so at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a man for only for his money, then what does that make you? I mean, I hate to say it, no disrespect to any female watching, But
Tell the truth.
if you
Forget
sit back
the
and you're sitting
disrespect.
back like,
Tell the
okay,
truth.
all you could do is provide money for me. You know what I mean? When a dude start calling you a prostitute or a slut, then the question is, if you just giving your body up for money, then if the title fits, that's what
If
you
it
are.
walks like a duck, right?
You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but you know, we don't want our young ladies to feel like, yo, in order for us to deal with a guy, he has to be providing for us financially. And I mean, and just like we don't want our young men to think, okay, every female we come across, in order for us to get with them, we got to buy them cars, make sure they have a nice house or something
Right,
like that. Because then
exactly.
at the end of the day, then nobody's working for each other or working together. They're
To
working
all
to
of it
get
is
to the
for
next thing.
myself. Right. But see, now you said you have four daughters. So clearly you're in their lives. And so they've had their father in their lives. But for the young ladies who haven't, and they're in a house with single mothers, and every woman is not part implanting the right seeds into their children. So some of us young
Well, I
melanated
tell you like
women,
this: I was a single father once upon a time,
my dad was too. I
you
was
know,
raised by
and
a single father.
so I mean, so your father, bless his heart,
Right.
he learned some hard lessons, like I'm not gonna lie, my daughter caught her first cycle. We was living in Arizona, and it was just like, what do I do?
That's
I'm
so
making
funny.
phone calls like, yo, this is not experience that I have.
My daddy went through that. My daddy, I'm so, it's so funny you said that because when I had my first cycle, I had to tell my daddy. My daddy went to the store, bought me a bag of pads, and he brought it back and was like, I think there's some directions on it. So I could have been putting the pads on wrong for who knows how long before I
Well, I
figured it
tell you, I had my homegirl in Arizona. I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I went to the store, and the commercial I seen right before I went to the store when she came in and said she was bleeding. When she said I was bleeding, I'm like, yo, go get a Band-Aid. And she was like,
out. Right.
no, I'm bleeding
No,
down
yeah.
here. And I'm like,
Right.
what? So I called my
Right.
homegirl, and I'm like, yo, I need. She's like, well, go get Tati some feminine products, and I'm like, okay. So I go to the store, and I come back with tampons.
Oh no, you didn't.
That's what
you,
the
but you're
commercial.
a
The
man.
commercial was. It was a
But you're a
tampon
man. What do
commercial on.
you know?
So I
What do
didn't
you know?
know.
You're a
So she's
man.
like, no, you got to go get pads. So when I walk
Right.
into the pad aisle, it's a million pads, and I'm
Mm.
like, which
The
ones do
baby
I
don't
buy?
know what kind she needs. She don't know nothing about it.
So I bought like 5 different packs and bought them all home and was like,
Here
y'all
you
figure this out.
I'm telling you. But yeah, like so for those girls who just had their mother and other women influencing them, a lot of us were taught to look at you men as money. And use what you got to get what you want. So then
And that's a bad thing.
when we become grown women, then it's like it's hard for you to look at a man as a partner, as a friend, as any of that because you've been taught that this is money.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm grateful that I have my father to offset some of the seeds that the elder women were trying to plant in me. Because if
Well,
I
you got
didn't,
women that's doing that now. That's still trying to plant that. Like I'm an
yes,
educator, so a lot of the little girls I teach. I'm an educator in K through 5,
mm,
and a lot of the kids look at me, especially those with single parents. A lot of them look at me like I'm the father figure. So
right,
I have to continue to show them that love regardless. I think I give out maybe 200-300 hugs a day, and it's
right. They need that.
so it's like, we know men are needed in our children's lives, but you have some, I guess I could say, some bitter women
Selfish.
that want to that want to train daughters that they don't need men in their lives. Oh, you're gonna be okay, or you could do this, you could do that. But at the end of the day, when they finally end up getting older and ended up on their own, a lot of females don't have friends,
Hmm.
or locked in a life where it's just okay, it's nobody but them, because that's how they was taught and how they was raised. But yet still, when you have a man or somebody, a male influence in your life, it doesn't have to be your father, it could be any
Right.
male influence that's trying to show you the right way. If you have a female in the back of your head, oh well, you don't need this, you don't need that, or do this or do that, you're gonna listen to that female as a young girl, because you're like, okay, well, she has all the answers. But then when it comes time for it, and you realize, well, maybe that female was wrong. By that time, it's usually too late.
Yeah. You in a hole that you might not be able to dig yourself up out of at that point.
because now all you taught is, oh, well, I'm gonna be independent. I can do this by myself. Or all I need is these females around me. And when you got all these other men around you, you're just like, oh well, you're useless. Or you
Yeah,
have
that's what they
females,
say to make
or
it
you know,
seem
you do have the females that have the fathers or the males in the house, and no matter what they do, the females are bashing them. You know, you could get up and go to work every day, and you come home, oh, you ain't shit. Oh, your father ain't
right.
shit.
Right.
So that's already instilled in you, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of our young girls don't know what their fathers really are doing for them, you know, because most men don't come in the house and be like, oh, you see these lights that's on? I paid that bill. You see this roof that's
Or
over
piece
your head?
of chicken
I
you
paid that
eating,
bill.
I paid for that.
Them clothes you got on your back, I put money towards them. Just because
The gas to go in the car to drive you to school, I put it in there.
just because you see mommy pull my money out, don't mean I didn't put money in mommy's account. And
Right.
a lot of young girls, you know, like even you know, I have my younger daughter who lives with her mother, and she don't know about child support,
Hmm.
but you know, her mother gets a check, a pretty hefty check every 2 weeks, and then on top of that, when she calls and say, "Dad, I need," I don't sit back and be like, "Oh, your mother got a, you know, got damn near $1,000 for the month for you." You know, nah. What you want?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna send it to you right now. Say
Mm-hmm.
less.
Right.
But if you don't send it,
Hmm.
oh, your father ain't shit. You know, he ain't
And
doing
I
this. He
have
ain't
a
doing that.
problem with that. I have a
But, you
problem with
know,
that.
you'll never sit back and be like, oh, well, your father sends money every 2 weeks or once a month or weekly, however he sends the money.
I have a problem with that. See, that is one of the reasons why I don't hang out with too many women. I would love to have friends and things like that, but I feel like a lot of women and the mentality that they have, I can't rock with it. Like I can't. There, it's like the black man has become obsolete, and it's like you know I do live streaming as well, and so and a lot of the lives that I see, it'll be like black men are bums, and it's just like I feel like there's so much bashing going on,
But the
and
question is, you know, you hearing that, what makes the black man a bum?
my question is, when are you going to take accountability for the man that you chose? Because all black men aren't bums, and there are a lot of great black men out there. So if you keep having bums, sis, maybe you need to check your energy and find out what energy you putting out to keep attracting bums.
You know what? I had a conversation with a female recently, and she pretty much said the same thing. So I asked her, she said her exact comment was, "All men ain't shit." So my reply to her was, "Well, who told you to date all men? And when did you know all men? Like you know me, but you never dated me." And
Right.
she's like, well, you're different. You know, you're in your kids' lives, and you take care of other people's kids. And I
Other
said,
men do that
but
too.
but your comment said was all
All
men
men.
ain't shit.
So you're an
So
all
when
men
you
too.
say I'm part of all men, and I
Right.
said we have, she's a coworker. I'm like, well, we work in a school. No, she's a parent. We work
Okay.
in a school where you see all these other all these other men in the school. So if
Mm-hmm.
these men, if all men ain't shit, the men you see in the school ain't shit. So why would you send your kid to a school where men that ain't shit work? And she's like, well, not all men, just the men I date. So I said, I turned around and I said, well, maybe you should actually look at the men that you're dating. Maybe look at yourself. You know, if you're only looking at a certain man, oh, because he drives a Benz, or he has this, or he has that, you know, it makes him extravagant, but he won't give it to you. Now the question is, because a man has a Benz or he has a great job, is it automatically his job to pay for you and take care of your kids? Nah. You know, sometimes, you know, not all men just walk into a relationship like, okay, well, I'm gonna provide for this woman off gate. You know, at times you have to earn that. And there's times where people just, you know, you have some women that be like, okay, you know, like there's a new thing on social media where if I'm going on a date with you, you got to pay for my babysitter and buy my kids food before we go on a date. And I mean, with that mentality, depending on how the relationship is set up or how the date is set up, some men won't have a problem with that. But if you two are trying to get to know each other, if you're taking the time out to go on a date with a man that you're trying to get to know, your responsibility is your kids. He's not responsible for your kids. And people have that messed up now. Like, your kids are not my responsibility until we make the effort to put them into my life. Once they get into my life, if we're building something, then and only then are your kids my responsibility. And then instead of saying your kids, then it becomes our kids.
Right.
Even if dad is around, I'm still holding down our family. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be my blood kids,
And
because
I have that type of situation.
and
But
that's how it
we're
has to
all
be.
a cohesive unit. He has a new wife, I have a new king, and we're all a unit so that we can productively raise some adults.
And that's amazing right there, because you have so many you have you got the men out here that be like, oh, you ain't gonna have my kids around no new dude. Or you have some women that be like, oh, you're not gonna have my kid around no new female. And they don't say female, you hear the nigga, you hear the bitch, you
Well,
hear
yeah,
this.
right.
It's like, yo, first things first, like, yo, I come from an age where it takes a village to raise a child. Where I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, where if you did something wrong, I lived on the 6th floor. By the time I got upstairs to the 6th floor, I probably caught like 20, 30 licks before I even got to my crib.
Right. And it was okay.
Yeah. And your mother
Right.
won't even question it. Now, if you grab up a person kid, the parent will be ready to come fight.
You can't even forget grab them. You can't even say anything to them, like, reprimanding them or anything. Because now, like you said, now someone's at your door ready to fight you.
Oh, like, we have a rule in my school, right? Like, and I've enforced it. We don't believe in keeping your hood on. So I tell a kid in a heartbeat, if I got to tell you more than once to take your hood off, I'm going to cut the hood off and then tell your parents I cut it off.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a little dude, I'm ready for the scramble. Whatever you
Right.
want to do, however you want to take it. If your child could not listen, he had to learn the hard way.
But see, some of them don't have fathers at home. And like I say all the time to these women in my live streams and on my podcast, men bring structure. Men bring certain things that women don't bring to the table. So some of those kids don't have a male role model at home, and you might need to cut their hood off because
But
mamas.
the question, they're not. But see, the thing is, they're not. They might have a male role model at home.
It's possible.
What? The question is, what is the woman doing to stop him from being that role model or be that structure? Because
That
you have that.
undermining. That undermining.
You have that. You
Yeah,
have,
that's
no
why.
matter what, a man could be in your child's life, and every time he says something, you could be in a relationship. That's not your child. Don't tell my child nothing.
You're right.
So
You're
your
right.
child grow up and be disrespectful.
I see a
You,
lot of
you,
that.
you question it. Oh, well, why is my child acting like this? Why my child acting like that? A lot of times when you have a disrespectful child, you got to look at the parent.
Mm-hmm.
If
Right.
you have a miserable child, you got to look at the parent. What are you doing that your child is like this?
Mm-hmm.
If there's no structure at home, there's no structure at school.
Right.
And of course, you know who gets blamed for that? Well, if there was more black men in our kids' lives, or more men in our, and you don't even hear men, you hear black men.
That
But the
part.
fact of the matter is, there are black men in your kids' lives, but like you said, you used the perfect term. How many of them black men are being undermined?
Mm-hmm. And then how many men are not allowed to be fathers because the woman is spiteful and she mad at the man, maybe because he didn't have great penis control or whatever the case may be. But now he's not allowed to be a father because you're upset and you're
Oh,
mad and you're
oh,
bitter.
you hear that story all the time. Oh, he had another child, so he can't see my child. Let him take care of that child, but he ain't shit because he ain't taking care of my child. But clearly, he's trying to be in your child's life. But every time
You
he
won't
tries to
let
step
him.
up into that child's life, it's a problem. Whose
And
fault
you
is that?
want
Is it
to
my
argue
fault?
about the stuff that he did 6 years ago.
And but the thing is, and I hate to say it, but you have some females that do shit behind the scenes and they don't get caught. But when a dude get caught, it's, oh, he did this, he did that. But
That's
you
correct.
was doing stuff behind the scenes also. Just because he got caught don't mean you innocent. It means you just didn't get caught. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we got a lot of people out here in the streets that did crimes and never got caught.
You're right.
Do that mean you was innocent all your life? Hell
No,
no.
that
You did
just
something,
means
you just
you
didn't get caught.
was good at not getting caught.
That's all it is. You ain't innocent.
Hmm. Okay, so how do you feel about the representation of the women in our community in the media, and how do you feel about the way they're representing themselves?
Well, I mean, it depends. You have different type of women. You have the businesswoman that promotes the family. Then you
Mhm.
got the Megan Thee Stallions, the Lizzos. You got different ones. So it depends on which route you want to take. If you feel like the Cardi B's, the Lizzos, the so on and so forth, that's who you want to emulate. That's who you're gonna force your way to. I use Beyonce as an example. Beyonce used to sing songs about how she's independent, how she don't do this, how she don't do that. But all the females singing that song, oh, I'm this. I don't even know all Beyonce songs, but I know her independent men bashing songs. But if you pay attention to Beyonce, what she do? She go home to Jay-Z and to her kids,
Married. Cardi B married too.
and she go home to her husband and her kids.
Right.
So while you sitting there singing that, I'm gonna be independent, I'm gonna get the bag,
All
I'm
the
gonna do this.
single ladies.
Yeah,
But
sing.
she
That's
ain't
the song,
even
single
single.
ladies. Yeah,
But she
you
ain't
ain't.
even single.
She ain't single.
Talk about I don't cook, I don't clean, and then he got a picture of her on YouTube sweeping in her robe.
But nobody talks about that.
Right.
If all on Instagram, you hear that you got that. I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do this. You know, I'm a man. I cook and I clean.
Mm-hmm.
I have a woman in the house. She cooks, she cleans.
Right. That's how my household
It,
is.
it, it don't matter. I'm over that stereotype where if a man goes to work, he don't have to cook or clean. If a woman goes to work, she don't have to cook or clean. Nah. At the end of the day, food got to get cooked. It don't matter who come in
And
the
we
house
all
first,
gotta
who come in the
eat.
house last.
And we all gotta eat.
Yeah, we all got to eat.
Right.
Laundry got to get done. It don't matter who do the laundry. It don't matter if you do the laundry yourself or you drop the laundry off. Laundry got to get done. Dishes got to get washed out the sink.
And we a team.
And that's so if we continue to allow our famous singers to to I guess bless our kids, and I don't even know if they're blessing our kids because they're more so poisoning them.
But that's what they glorify. Like you said there's business women and there's all of this, but that's not glorified. That's pushed to the back burner, and all you see is the Megs and the Cardis and that's what the kids would have to go find the businesswoman. I've asked quite a few of the men. I haven't asked a couple of the other ones, but right now, there's no positive male or female role models on TV other than entertainers that people are in. Who,
We have one, but
who,
she's in the back burner because of who she is.
who?
Our vice president of the United States.
Oh, look, I'm like, oh,
Well, I mean, but see, the thing is, when she was running for office, and a lot of people fail to realize this, right? When the vice president and president are running for office, you'll hear a lot from both parties. But once the president gets into office, you almost never hear from the vice president. The vice president is always there. You'll always see her, but you won't hear from her. Just like when Obama was in office, Biden was around, you just never heard from him. And the
right,
minute he was out of office, that's when you started hearing from him again. So, Vice President Harris, she's around and she's married with kids. But due to the fact of her position, she's behind the scenes. And I mean, of course, you know who she is. And, I know her track record because I lived out in California. So I know who she is and I know what she's done. But the fact of the matter is, whether and we're not talking black or white, we're not talking crime or not, we're talking about role models. If we talking role models, she's there. There's tons of inspirational black women or white women that are out there. But like you said, and the bad thing about it is we got to search them out.
Right.
you
They're not
know,
they're not glorified. They're not, you know what I mean? Like I was saying on a previous interview, it seems like a lot in our community as well, doing the wrong thing is glorified. I remember because I grew up on both sides of the tracks. I lived with my father in a 4-bedroom house. We had horses, we did rodeos. And then when I go see my mother, who was on drugs at times, uh, we'd have an extension cord to the neighbor's house. So
but you said you grew up with horses.
I
That
grew
must
up
have been
on a
nice.
horse ranch and I did rodeos. Yeah.
Look, that must have been cool. I'm not even gonna hold you. I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn. Only
Yeah.
time we seen horse. I mean, right now there's now the there's a ranch of that's the Black Cowboys own, which we hardly got to see them when I was younger. But as I got older, we started to see them. But I'll be honest with you, I'd have loved to grow up on a ranch.
Yeah, I did. I grew up on
But
a ranch.
that must have been a blessing. And I'm sure it depends on where you went to school. Some people might have poked at it. Some people might have been like, "Yo, that's hot."
Well, because where I lived and because my father was a retired police officer from LAPD before I was born, my
Mhm.
father, when he married my mother, he told her, I'm not going to try to raise another child in LA. I was successful with the first one. So they moved to, way out of LA. And so from there, he always kept me like, secluded and, I grew up in the middle of nowhere on the horse ranch, and I went to school with
Okay,
predominantly white people, you
that
know,
had ranches.
that had ranches, and their kids was driving Benzes in the 10th grade, and
So you grew up on the other side. Where you grew up? What part of California you grew up in?
Riverside, Southern California.
So you grew up with a good old the good old white people lived.
Right.
Okay.
So when I go to my mother's house, I had to, when in Rome, do as the Romans, because then I'd go to my mother's house and they'd be like, "You talk white. Oh my God." And then they'd pick at me and I had to fight a couple of people because now you treating me like, just because I speak like this doesn't mean you just gonna come and just run me over.
And you know what's bad about that? Because I do it. You don't talk white. And as you become more educated, you'll realize you actually talk proper and you actually put the proper,
Have a
you know
command of the English
yeah, you
language.
start putting proper sentences together, proper fragments together. And
Right.
a lot of people look at you and be like, well, why are you talking like that? And I mean, if you
Exactly.
want me talking Ebonics, I mean, I could talk in Ebonics, I can curse, I could do all that. I could talk in many different ways. But
Right.
it depends on the situation, how I need to talk, where I need to talk at, and what I need. If I'm talking to kids, I know how to talk proper.
Right.
If I'm talking to my superiors at work, which are all black, so I could talk to, they
Right.
understand me. So I
Right.
could
That
talk to
helps.
them, but I don't talk to them reckless. I talk to them professional.
Right.
At times I say, listen, can I talk freely? Go ahead, McLean, talk freely. And
Right.
I'll go off. But I mean, as far as what goes on in our community, the problem is we don't have male representation inside the house. And if we do have it in the house, they're being cut down.
and then and then I say to people all the time, like, children are sponges. Children, even when you think they're not listening and watching, they are. So what do you
Yes.
think the effect of this dysfunction, how do you think that's affecting the children when the children are watching the man be cut down? Like, how do you think this affects the children?
What I always say is, if we're having a disagreement, we have a disagreement so that only me and you can hear. If
Right.
if the kids can hear the disagreement, now automatically what's going to happen is they're going to start taking sides. And depends on who the last person that did something for them is. If I put juice in your cup,
They on
I
your
could be
side.
wrong. They're on your side.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if a child should never know what's going on the back end.
Mm-mm.
And when a child gets filled in by one side or an outside influence that wants to have an inside influence inside the house, a
Mm-hmm.
child is not really going to know what really is going on until they get older and are able to look back and decipher what was really going on. But by
Right.
that time, they probably could have drew a wedge between that family.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
You know, you have a lot of fathers that don't get along with their daughters or their sons, or a lot of mothers that don't go along with their father with their sons or their daughters because of situations that could have been prevented if certain situations wasn't leaked out or there wasn't outside influences brought into the house.
You're right. I agree with that.
I'm one of them people like that. I tell a person in a heartbeat, like, yo, you don't need to know what's going on in my crib unless I decide to put you on about what's going on in my crib. And if I put you on
That's
what's
it.
going on in my crib, it's between me and you, not me, you, and
And,
Joey
and
and Susan and
everybody.
whoever else. It's between you and I. Our
Right.
conversation is our conversation.
Hmm. Okay, so since you're married, I asked this question to the married men differently than the single men, obviously.
Ask me
But
both questions. I answer
well,
both.
no, it's the same question, but because you're married, I have to ask you differently. So, when you were observing your wife, what were some of the qualities that your wife had that made you say, okay, this is my wife? And then what were some of the red flags that the other women had that made them like, nah, you ain't the one?
Yeah, it's funny. And still to this day, like my wife, like we don't even know how the hell we got together. Like I always tell people, like my story is she pursued me. Like
Oh,
how we actually met. I have a community organization called Unity in Community, and one of our mutual friends introduced us and was like, she wants to do community service. Can she come on with you?
okay.
So she ended up coming on board, and we had a meeting one day, and her car broke down. So I ended up going to pick her up. So during this time, I was sick. I had kidney issues. I wasn't working at the time. I was getting a disability check from work. And one day she was like, we just decided one day, I don't know who said it, but one day we decided to go just hang out.
Mm, okay.
And we took a walk. And till this day, it's a park that I frequent as a kid. We walked around this park maybe 500-600 times, like just
Hmm,
walk for hours, just talking. And then the next day, we ended up going to the movies.
okay.
So after that, we was together. I
Mm,
don't, I don't, I don't know. I don't know if we ever
okay.
said, "Oh, you my girl, you my man." I don't know if that was
Right.
ever said, but it ended up happening. But at the time, I had just gotten out of a crazy relationship with a female who I thought had my back. But like I just said, I had kidney issues, and I had that August I had kidney surgery.
Mm. Like you got a donation?
No, at the time, no. I had a kidney transplant 2 years ago, 2.5 years
Okay.
ago.
I gave my brother my kidney when I was 18.
And you gonna be an angel for the rest of your life. God bless you. My sister gave me her kidney.
All right. See, brothers and sisters. All right. We need to love up on each other.
Yeah. So my ex at the time, she was a CNA. So I
Mm,
had laparoscopic surgery on my kidneys to remove some cysts.
mm,
So they let it be known. I came home. I called it a grenade, but it was a thing that helped draw the blood. And
mm.
they said, okay, you're gonna need bandages changed, frequently.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, my girl's a CNA.
Perfect. Right. She got me. She didn't got you. She didn't got you at all. Did she change one bandage?
I got a better question for you. Her baby father was in prison. He was locked up. She had see the first red sign was the first time I went to the hospital. She had my truck, and this is the major red flag. I caught a lot of tickets on a truck, and I was in the hospital 3 weeks. Out of the 3 weeks, she came to visit me maybe 3 or 4 times.
Mm, that's a problem.
Now, when I went to a whole different hospital, I gave her money to make sure she came to see me quite frequently. All you had to do take the Long Island Railroad. Long Island Railroad let you up right across the street from the hospital. Walk upstairs, walk inside. She wasn't coming to see me. She was going to see her baby father that was locked up.
In prison.
Yeah, well, in
But
jail.
you was
She
using
didn't
the
go to.
money you gave her to come see you to go see him.
Yeah. So, she was like, "Well, I got to be loyal to both of y'all. I got to make sure I see both of y'all because that's her dad. I got to make sure he's good."
No, no, no. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Let
yeah.
me stop. Go ahead.
I mean, I agree, but you know what? Long story short, I had surgery, and it's funny because social media, she put it out there that, like, after the surgery was done, she put it out there. He woke up. He said he loved me. It's good to see him awake. She wasn't there when I woke up. She didn't come till the next day. My aunt was the person that said, everything that she said, I said to my aunt, because my
Wow.
aunt was sitting there.
Wow.
So when I came home, it was just like, now I was in the hospital for another 3 weeks. And to be honest with you, I don't even think she came to see me after I had that first surgery while I was in the hospital.
Wow.
I can't remember back that far. It was like 2011. So 2010, 2011.
Okay.
But it was to that point where I realized, yeah, this shit ain't gonna work.
Right.
You, you
I
know,
feel that though. Like you're supposed to have my back. Like the all you had to do was come see me. Did she have a job or anything?
she worked here and there. Let's just say that. I
I'm just
provided. I
saying to
provide.
where I would have had to go to work and then I come see you when I get off of work.
I
Mm.
provided most of the stuff. And long story short, how our relationship ended. Um, a few weeks, maybe a week or so after. I wasn't even a few weeks. Maybe it was like a week or so after I came home. I was still bleeding, and I went to go see her. We went out to eat. And I made it clear, like, yo, this ain't gonna work. We're better off as friends. And we went our separate ways. And, a few months later, I ended up meeting the missus now.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and it was like,
Before
she was
how
the
did the
she
missus
was she
have?
was the she was the polar opposite. She was the mother. She was working. She was family oriented. She was a church goer. She just had all those, not the partying type person that I was used to. So she was
Oh,
like everything that was the opposite.
okay, so the party girl is definitely was a red flag for you.
And, I can't say that because at the time I was partying every
Oh,
weekend. I was going out, doing this and doing that. So the partying didn't really matter to me. My thing is when you're in a relationship, and this goes for both parties. Before you impress the outside world, you got to take care of home. And before you take care of home, you got to take care of yourself. If you're not good mentally and physically, you can't take care of somebody else. And I'm still learning that, at 45 years old.
mm-hmm. I'm with you on that one. I'm
So
still
don't
learning
think,
at
I'm not gonna
42.
sit here and preach that I'm the perfect husband or the perfect man or this and that. Nah, I'm far from that.
Hmm.
I'm king certified asshole.
I'm
And
certified.
I'm certified. You talk to any of my people, they gonna be like, "Yo, he's an asshole."
I say that about my king all the time, and I love him to death. He's
He
my
with me then.
asshole. He's
He
my
with me.
asshole.
But guess what? He a Bears fan, so they beat us. So fuck him too. He on my bad side today.
I said I'm gonna go live so that when I go live that you could tell him something. He's like, nah, because I'm surprised they even pulled that off.
Yo, look, and trust me, I've been getting it left and right. Everybody been hitting me like, yo, y'all lost to the Bears. How y'all lose to the Bears?
Man, I know you've been getting it like the Bears, dude, for real.
Yeah, and what makes it worse is I'm in a
First
sport.
game of
I'm
the
in a
season.
sports group, and
Oh
I've been
Lord.
getting
Oh, I
hammered.
know they're
Like,
going in on you.
uh, yeah, since I've been sitting here, I keep seeing the phone light up, and I'm sure by the time we get off the interview, I'm probably gonna have at least 20, 30 memes of the game.
You know they are.
And
Okay.
what makes it worse is a lot of them are Giant fans, and I'm looking at the score right now. When we got on, the Giants was down 13-zip. Now the score is tied up. I think you
Oh
might have
wow.
jinxed that. I
It's
was
my
kind of hoping, like I was like, yo, the Giants gonna get shut out. I
it's
was
my
hoping that. Then we got on live. I looked up and I'm like, wait, hold up. They just scored. They scored again.
Wait, what happened? Okay, so can you give at least one issue that you feel affects the men and the women of our community, and then give the solution or what you think would be a solution?
Ooh. First thing I can say is there's no unity. Everything inside our community is a competition. Everybody wants to see everybody do good, but nobody wants to see anybody do better than them.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a problem that plagued our community. Instead of sitting back saying, okay, well, Tommy's gonna get to the top, and once Tommy gets there, he's gonna reach back and pull us up. Everybody's like, nah, Tommy's getting to the top. Let me pull Tommy back down. Oh, Tommy got a sex tape from 1983.
Right. He sold a nickel bag
Yeah,
back when he was 17. Like what?
mind you, he's 45 years old. He was
Exactly.
selling drugs, and I mean, and the same thing, Becky, let me not say Becky, let me say Tamika. She
Right.
she she had four boyfriends at one time when she was in ninth grade.
Right.
Oh, but we're not going to talk about her having her PhD, and mentoring how many women that have actually gone to college.
Right.
So what she did in her past, and that's the problem with our community. We constantly, downplaying what they're doing now and bringing up what they did yesterday. Like I know, a lot of people like as my wife got to know me and she got to see people that I've been around. When they see me, they be like, "Yo, you work in a school? They
Right.
gave you a job in the school? Like, do they know who you are?"
Right.
And I'm like, "Yo, who I am is not who I was.
That
Back
part.
then, I was a monster."
A
You know,
monster.
but don't get it twisted. The monster can come back at any given time.
Say it. She's still in there,
Yeah,
but
but
I'm a new person right
at the
now.
end of
But
the day,
don't let the
I
monster
got
come.
too much. I got too much to lose.
Yes.
And when people start to realize you got a lot to lose, then they'll start poking at you. And you
Hmm.
got to realize when to accept that poke and react, or when to sit back and be like,
Got to
I
choose
got
them
you.
battles.
Yep. Because not every battle you can win. You might be able
Mhm.
to win the battle, but you're not going to win that war. Because that
Right.
war could either cost you your life, it could cost you your livelihood. It depends on what the situation is.
Hmm.
Like, I had a conversation with a female earlier today, right? And I dated this female about 15 years ago. And she tells me somebody seen me going into the gym the other day. I was walking into the gym and she hits me and she goes, "Hello, Mr. LA Fitness." So I look at my phone. I'm like, it's on social media. So I look and I'm like, I start looking around. Like, first, you don't normally hit me, but what's up? And she
Hmm.
goes, "You're in LA Fitness right now, right?" So again, now I'm in the middle of working out and I stop and I look and I'm like, "Yo, how do you know I'm in LA Fitness?" And she was like, "I just know." And then finally she told me, she's like, "Oh, a female saw you going into the gym and said you tried to holler at her." I said, "Nah." When I walked in the gym, I said hi to, somebody I knew outside and kept coming in. I said, because I had my headphones on. And she's like, "So you're gonna say you didn't try to talk to no female?" I said, "First things first, I don't have to answer to you. And
Right.
secondly, I know what I did and what I didn't do." I said, "So whoever told you they saw me, tell them I said hi and keep the bullshit to themselves."
Wow.
And I'm like, yo, first things first, we haven't dated in how many years? And secondly, when anybody should hit you and said, "Oh, he tried to holler at me," your first thing should have been like, "Okay, I don't care.
Like why do you
Why
care?
do you even care?"
Right. Mm. So, do you feel like the women of our community sometimes can be a little too masculine?
When you say masculine, are we talking LGBT? I don't want to mess up the
I'm
letters
not,
L.
no, I'm not talking about LGBTQ. I don't even know all the letters myself, but no, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like, do you feel like a lot of the women have lost their touch of femininity? Because I hear that from a lot of men, like women run around and they act like men and they acting too
Nah,
masculine. So I want to
hell
get
no.
your
Yeah,
senses.
I'm around women every day. I'm a personal trainer also, so I see women whether it be at the gym, whether it be at work, with parents. I think our women, young or old, are some extraordinary, beautiful women. So, if you wanna, you know, confuse being masculine with being strong, then you got to ask yourself, are you insecure that a woman can do something that you can do? Because you have females that are police officers now. You have females that are correctional officers. You have females that are fire people, fire women.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make them masculine? No, that makes them, being able to go out and secure a job that once was dominated by men.
Mm-hmm.
I know some beautiful women that are police officers, that are fire women.
Mm-hmm.
I truthfully think, I know y'all females, I'm not sure if you're one, but I put all the females in the category. Y'all go crazy when the firemen's calendar come out.
Oh, like
Maybe,
we like a man in uniform.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
that. So I mean,
That's true.
maybe the women, if more men seen women in a calendar like that, maybe they won't see them as being, masculine, because don't confuse a job for who she really is. At the end of the day, she's still a queen. She's still soft. She still has emotions. Just like, a men is supposed to be strong and be tough, but not all men are strong and tough. Some men are really emotional. Some men are, they can break down. There's two sides of a man, and you have to present that side when it needs to be presented. At times you got to be strong. At times you got to be soft. You can't always be. It
Right.
don't work for
Some
everybody.
men are like that though.
And those men that are rough all the time, they have hard times with relationships,
They do.
because those are the times where you got to sit back and be like, okay, at sometimes I have to allow my lady to lead. I can't, like, my favorite line now was, yo, my female needs to be a bird or be a butterfly. You need to be able to spread your wings and grow as you need to grow. I can't be the person that's gonna stagnate your growth. If you need to go out and do a different class, if you need to go do a different work, if you need to switch your career completely, if you just need to go the fuck out,
Hmm.
go. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be right here, because I still need to do what I need to do to be the best man I possibly can be.
Right.
So all that females are too masculine, nah, I don't see that. Are there masculine females out there? Yeah. But what I say, the overall, consensus, nah, definitely not.
Okay. I like that. Let me make sure that was all of the questions. So, yeah, that was all of my questions.
That's it. I thought you
Yeah,
had a whole slew of questions for
I
me.
didn't have a whole slew of them.
I was prepared for the book.
No, but I do want you to come back for my roundtable that I'm going to do as well. Um, yes, I'm going to hit you up about it. But is there anything that you'd like to promote? Because I know you said you own your business. So,
Well, my name, like I said, my name is TL Mac. That's my name. My initials TL. My last name is McLean. As you can see, TL Mac Fitness. That's my company. I also have a podcast that comes on the Evening Rush Network every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Since you guys are on the West Coast,
right.
or you gotta look at the Evening Rush Network, DAEVENING Rush Network, and I'm live every Thursday with my co-host Rails. Shout out to you, Mikey, for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate that. It was a pleasure.
I
And
appreciate
anything you need me for, just call me.
I
And,
appreciate that so much. And if
and
you need me for anything, I'm here.
when I come to Riverside, I
I'm
tap in.
in Vegas right now.
What you doing in Vegas?
That's where I live. I don't even live in California anymore.
Tap in. I'll be in Vegas December 15th through the 18th
I live
of
here. So
December. I'll be there December 15th through the 18th for the Olympia.
okay.
So I don't know if most people are probably like, well, what's the Olympia? That's the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. So my coach is
I
out.
knew what it was.
So, I mean, there's some people that'll be like, well, what's the Olympia? So we'll be out there. I'm flying in December 15th. I have family out there, have a couple of friends that actually live out there. So
Okay.
I'm gonna decide where I'm gonna stay at. I'm gonna talk to the coach, but I'm also a bodybuilding competitor. I'll be competing October 8th in East Haven, Connecticut, somewhere. It's in Connecticut. And then after
Somewhere.
that, we got two shows in Jersey I'm doing in November, and then I'm shutting it down.
Okay.
But when
That's
I come to Vegas, I'll definitely, hopefully we still in the season. I could, have a conversation with your king and, bring him
he,
over to,
he's never far behind, but
sway him over to the 49er side.
oh, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna
We
happen.
can't. We can't do Chicago. I mean,
He
Chicago.
ain't swinging. He is
Where's he
not
from?
Chicago.
Oh yeah, he's stuck.
Look, he's not
But
swinging.
but me and him probably with the one argument him and I are gonna have because
Uh oh.
I had a female friend from Chicago. Where is the best pizza?
Uh oh.
New York.
Okay. So yeah, y'all might y'all might we gonna see how that one turns out when you
Please
come in.
don't tell me that deep this shit is the best pizza because it ain't.
He loves it too.
You know what though? I remember when I went to Chicago and people was taking me to different spots in Chicago. Oh, they got good pizza, and I'm like, this is a pie. All it is it's a pie with cheese and bread. That's all
You
this
know
is.
what's funny? My mother's from New Jersey, and she spent most of her, younger years on the East Coast. Her and my aunt drove across country to California when she was like early 20s ish. But my mother does not really eat pizza on the West Coast because she said we don't know what pizza is.
I'll be honest with you. When I lived on the West Coast, damn, I don't even know. I can't even tell you what I had. Like, I mean, if you want to talk about like having Domino's like once in a blue, and that's not even real pizza, but the
That's what my
pizza
mom said.
parlors.
She won't eat it. My
Like I
mom
remember
won't.
I went to one spot and it was called Brooklyn Pizza in Phoenix,
Mm.
and I'm like, okay, this pizza might be all right. Yo, I took a bite and I'm like, yo, this is not Brooklyn pizza. I'm from
But
Brooklyn.
they're from Brooklyn, so they can't give you Brooklyn pizza in Arizona, and
But
you
the guy allegedly, the guy's father grew up in Brooklyn, and then the family moved to Arizona, and he passed the recipe down
we
to
didn't
his
do it
son.
right then, huh?
I don't know what the hell he did, but I'm like, but you know what though? People was loving the pizza, and I'm just like, yeah, y'all got to go to New York, and then when y'all go to New York, y'all gonna be like, oh, this is not it.
Right.
Kind of like when I go to Chicago, this is not it.
Uh-oh. See, yeah, I'm gonna tell them about this one too when the
But you
interview.
know what though? I got a homeboy that's from Detroit, and he be like, "Yo, they got the best pizza," and I'm
Oh,
like,
see,
"Yo,
I ain't never even heard about Detroit and their
that's
pizza.
what I said." I'm like, "Yo, when did y'all get into this conversation?
Right, I've never even heard them in the
Y'all
conversation.
not even part of this. It's
Right.
Chicago and New York.
That's it.
There's
Right.
nowhere else.
Right.
I
But I
mean, unless you
really
want to go to
appreciate
Greece or Italy and talk about pizza,
well,
that's
that's
about it.
different. We can't even bring them into the
Yeah, we
equation.
just leave them alone. Like
Right.
when the old Greek and Italian men start talking to me about pizza, listen, y'all got this win. We
Y'all
not
got
even
it.
gonna
It's
argue
all
with you.
you. Right. It's all you.
Yeah, we can't argue. This is
No,
this is fake pizza compared to what y'all have.
pretty much. They'll look at you like pizza.
You, what is this? You mean sauce?
Right. And bread.
Sauce and bread? No. They say, well, there's an old Italian guy. He'd be like, you mean gravy and bread? The first
Not
time he
great.
said gravy and bread, I'm like, what do you mean gravy? And he was like, that's what we call, which I call spaghetti sauce. We call it gravy.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah,
Mm.
I can't get past. I would never call it gravy.
Not gravy on a pizza.
And
But
he
I
was like,
do
yeah, that's what it is, gravy.
I really appreciate you joining me. I appreciate your time. I'm grateful for your input. Um, thank you guys for joining me. And remember, the first step to change is realizing that a change is necessary. Um,
Changing yourself.
Right, a little self-reflection. You might figure out it's time for a change. But thank y'all for joining me live on Glacier FM. You can find me on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, on YouTube. It's Tell Your Friends, exclamation, Mikey, MYCHE. So thank y'all for joining me and join us for the next interview on Tell Your Friends.